the Go Berserk with Email podcast with Navy nuclear engineer turned email software developer, Troy Broussard. So calm.
I'm pissed off, but I'm telling this because I am teaching you how to think differently and how to test differently.
So patient.
And Ben, that's put $500,000 into this company too, is being told that nobody can find the goddamn bug.
So charitable.
I'm going to start paying bounties every time somebody finds a bug. We're going to deduct $10 for that week.
So trusting.
Do not assume that anything works. Assume that nothing works.
And so sweet, it makes sugar taste just like salt.
I want to play into the sexiness of marketing automation, but I also want to slap the complexity of it.
The Go Berserk with Email podcast begins now.
All right, here we are back again with Mr. Troy Broussard. What is up, my man?
Oh, man, just happy to be here, enjoying a lovely day in Florida and chilling and here to hang with you, my friend, here to hang with you.
Well, I am stoked, and I know that there's one or two people listening that are wondering what we're getting into today, and I think you dropped a hint the last time about shortcuts. What do you have for us today?
Yeah, so the topic here is that the shortcut is the longest path. This is a lesson that I have learned through, God, I'm old, a few decades now of practical experience and a lot of bruises, a lot of broken bones, a lot of suffering along the way. And it's probably the single biggest fallacy and destructive behavior pattern that I see in the entrepreneurial world or even the small business world. I've done a lot of small business consulting over the years and have coached over 1,000 clients in entrepreneurial space in one form or another. And the amount of effort that somebody will go through to chase a short-lived tactic, a shortcut, something that appears to give them this big win, even if it's fleeting. There's this mindset that that's the best way of, hey, I can be really quick and adaptive and I can respond to all of these different tactics. And social media is a perfect example of it. We have seen every type of service you can think about in social media come and go, spike and peak and fall off the map, right, over the years. And I know of so many people that are just chasing all of these different tactics for when they work, and then they've got to reinvent themselves and reinvent their business and start from ground zero and just over and over and over again. I literally got an email from somebody that I've known for about a decade and a half now. Haven't heard from them in a while. And I get this email, and you know, as soon as you read the email, you're like, man, you really need some writing skills, because you need to learn how to warm up to it a little bit, even as a friend. Like if you had your cold outreach emails from your friends that try to rope you into something, or, you know, and it's like, geez, could you just say hello first? You know, could you
Kiss me before you?
So I got this email, and I'm not going to go too specific, but just the subject alone made it obvious they didn't really want to talk to me. They were just trying to get to something. They asked about one of my partners as their subject line, right? Which immediately, they haven't spoken to me in years and we were friends. So you would think you would at least spend a couple token emails back and forth, rekindling the friendship a little bit before you go straight for the jugular, right? And then in the very first email, it had the whole signature about how this person is now an AI specialist and they've got this whole program on AI and all this. And as soon as I saw that, just between the subject line and the little signature to their AI program, I already knew, you know, where this was going. And the person tried to be clever and dance around, and, you know, after that with an email, and then came the hard pitch, and it felt like an MLM bomb being, you know, thrown at me. I mean, it was just terrible, and inviting me to check out their AI. And I'm like, you know what, man, it's good catching up, but I am philosophically opposed to pretty much everything involving AI. So just don't even waste your breath on me there, man. It's good to see you. I hope things are good with the family. Boom, done, gone, out. I am out of there. And it just amazes me how people are chasing after tactics, chasing after trends, and not learning the simple things of how to develop relationships. I mean, honestly, I really do think that there is a inhuman aspect to this, that the technology has made it where people are not getting out of their basement and seeing other humans and have forgotten the art of just being human, of how to have a conversation, of how to relate to people, right? And I don't know, that's my take on it, but it's definitely, I think, the biggest, most needed recommendation for a book read for everybody out there is, how to make friends and influence people, right? I mean, go back and read the basics. Go back to the basics, because people just don't have that.
Yeah, you know what? It's not their fault. I think that depending on the age people are, you can see younger people sitting at a table together and all of them looking at their phones and kind of laughing. I think that the school system has screwed people up. We've turned our children over to the school. They think that devices are the only way of communication. They don't know. They don't know how to talk to another person. Their growth is stunted because of this, because we see it all the time. These kids working in stores and stuff, they don't know how to talk to you. They don't know how to think. They don't know anything. And I used to get mad at them, and now I feel sorry for them, because how are these people going to procreate? Like, you're done.
Yeah, well, imagine our senators and presidents in the next 100 years. And on that note, you might as well just sign off. But it is scary, right? And so, unfortunately, when you get into this world of business, I think that a lot of this comes from a lack of clarity. Okay. A lot of it comes from a lack of clarity of what you really want to do. Many people are doing this because they just want to make money, right? They're not really passionate about what it is they are doing. They've tried all kinds of different services. They've tried different membership sites. They've tried this program, affiliate marketing. They tried that. And honestly, they don't have any clarity or passion about what it is that they want. And so they just chase tactic after tactic after tactic. And it's not even that the tactic chasing leads to the slowest path. It's not even that that following the shortcuts takes longer. That's the best case scenario, quite honestly. It's the best case scenario, because what really happens is that for most people, because they're deluded into believing that the shortcut is the answer, and that isn't sustainable, it actually leads to complete failure. It leads to them giving up. It leads to them writing off the concept of being a business owner or an entrepreneur, or a consultant, advisor, or marketer, whatever. They give up on it entirely, and they fail completely because they're not willing to do the work and invest in something they're passionate about and have clarity of purpose on. They're just chasing a tactic. And that leads to complete failure in many, many cases. So it's not even that it's a longer path, right? It's that in many ways, it's the end of the road. And that's what I wish that I could impart on people, that they could understand that. I think of my partner in Berserker Mail, Ben Settle, who is going to be doing some of these podcast guest appearances as well. I know he's got some on the agenda and is going to have some fun, so people get to know him a little bit as well. But I think of Ben and his print newsletter that he's been doing for over a decade with this print newsletter. And everybody thinks of how successful he is with that, but they don't realize how many years that he had to grind that out, right? It is not the fastest thing. Nothing ever is at first. Everybody talks about explosive growth and exponential growth curve. They don't talk about how painful it is to be in the long tail of the growth curve, right? In the beginning of the growth of that exponential growth, that long tail is really long before the momentum starts to go exponential, right? And I know that's something that Ben could talk a lot about in his newsletter business. He had the endurance to just stay the course and stay the path and quit trying to take shortcuts, stay in his lane, focus on what he's really good at. And that's what I admire. That's what I like to see in people, because that leads to success. But when you're chasing those short-term tactics, there's only so many times you get knocked down that you just decide it's not worth getting back up again. And at some point, it just turns into complete failure. And that's my thought on the matter.
So I'm speaking about the school system, but I'm gonna bring it back, because what I've noticed in schools is people are not taught how to think; they're taught what to think. And so that brings me back to the idea of the tactics. What's the tactic that's going to work? What's the tactic that's going to work? And enough of those not working for you. And it's easy to say nothing's going to work and I'm going to quit. But I feel like you have kind of danced around it a little bit. The reason that you're excited to go to work, the reason that Ben's excited to go to work, the reason I'm excited to go to work is purpose, a bigger purpose, because the money ain't enough. You can make money, and eventually you're going to make money and realize that's not going to satisfy you. And so there's got to be something bigger. So I'm curious how you figured out what your purpose was. Maybe you can give our listeners an idea or two to at least get them pointed in the right direction so that they don't have this string of failures that puts them out of business.
Wow. This is probably a whole episode in and of itself of, being able to find your own mastery. It can be a path that takes a long time. It's a journey sometimes to really figure out what that core purpose is for yourself. It was for me. And it can be a masquerading series of journeys as well. So for myself, I used to think of myself as kind of scattered because I'm a bit of a polymath and have skills in a lot of different areas and have been successful in a lot of different businesses, from construction and land development to sales and speaking and authors and consulting and SEO companies and software as a service companies and trading and crypto. And so I've done very successfully a lot of different arenas. And that got me thinking that I was scattered in my purpose, but it wasn't. When I really understood what it was that I was super, super gifted at, it's seeing the future. And what I mean by that is there's a difference between trying to predict the future and see the future. And the difference is the study of something that I'll just tease and we'll go into more depth on in a future podcast as we're kind of narrowing towards the end of this one. But I'm going to talk about the adoption rate. And the difference between trying to guess and predict the future and being able to see the future is to understand adoption rate. And this is something that when I really spent some time in deep thought, and I do mean that. I mean, I still don't work Fridays. It's my day off. I never schedule anything, although we are here on a Friday today. I must admit that I do like you, Jonathan, because you have interrupted my Friday. Damn you! So,
sorry.
We'll let you into the fold. But that is just understanding that you're not going to just be able to casually pull this out of the hat. You need to spend some time going deep in thought and giving yourself some time to think, carving out some time to think for you, whatever that is the best method for that. What is your favorite way to just get deep in thought? Me, it's going out on a long walk where nobody can bug me.
Dude, I just discovered this. This is going to sound so weird, but I used to be a construction worker in a past life. And I realized that when I'm building or using my hands, that just magic happens because I'm so present there that my mind is doing its own thing. It's amazing for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because it's anything that has low intensity physical activity is going to massively improve your depth of thought and your ability to just let those neurons fire. The synapses just start going wild when you give it a little bit of physical activity, like not sprinting, not running, but maybe a light jog or a fast-paced brisk walk, or maybe a casual bike ride, anything where you've got some energetic activity going, and allow yourself that time to think and really drill in deep to what it is that you want and how It is that you can stay in your own lane, do what you really love, and be successful with that and nothing more. And, that finding that clarity and that sense of purpose is going to drive everything.
Bro. So I'm going to try to sum it up simply. I wrote a couple notes here. Number one, I feel like you said stay curious, because you said you're a polymath and you've been involved in so many things. So you've tried a lot of things. You stay curious, you stay interested, you keep your mind working. Number two, give yourself some time for deep thought with some activity or whatever, but deep thought to allow your mind to come up with the answers, because the answers are in you. You just got to let them bubble up. And then number three, after that deep thought, what is the one gift? What is the one thing that I have that is contributing to all my successes? And then lean into whatever that is to help you get to the mode of, this is my purpose. This is why I'm living. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And there's one simple litmus test. The simple litmus test is, would you do it even if you weren't getting paid?
I've done that. Plenty of that.
That's the litmus test. I mean, it really truly is, right? The person that is going to be out there speaking at events for free just because they enjoy being on stage and speaking, that's the person that you're not going to have to convince to work on their next presentation, right? They understand, they're there, their passion is there. So when you see that, that's the litmus test of all of it. But it took me a long time and a lot of deep thought before I was able to really connect the dots into all of my past ventures and businesses and really understand that my true gift was the ability to see the future. And that seeing the future, seeing the adoption rate is what led me to get into land development and construction at the time I did, move to a different area to go further into it as I was seeing the trends, get out of it when I got out of it, get into SEO when I got in and got out when I got out. All of those things, they've all been identifying adoption rates and being able to really leverage that for my purpose. I've been doing software as a service long before it was trendy to do so. And it's because I saw it as the natural evolution of membership sites, which are getting harder and harder and harder to sell. Digital information membership sites, the retention has just gone to hell in a handbasket in the last 5 years. But software as a service is kind of the new generation of what used to be a membership site. And if you understand that and you can see that future and you can connect those dots, that's where my mind goes. And when you can get that clarity of purpose and understanding of yourself, the rule is know yourself. I tell this to my clients all the time, know thyself, right? You have to understand what you're good at and most importantly, what you hate, and stay away from the latter.
Man, there's another gem that is kind of hidden in there if you're not paying attention, but it's the idea of change, right? It's the idea of taking your talents and being able to do different things with them, because you use the same talent, but you used it in different businesses. And I think that's, people get stuck with, like I said, I used to be an electrician. I'm an electrician. That's who I am. No, that's not who I am. I'm a guy who solves problems and builds things. That's what we have to do, is release our identity and be able to flow with what's next. Dude, I did not expect for us to go here.
There we go.
Yeah,
surprise, surprise, surprise.
All right. What do you have for us next time, Troy?
Well, we're going to kind of continue this in a way, and we're going to talk about constant and never-ending iteration.
We'll kind of plan that better. Well, that is a wrap for another Go Berserk with Email podcast, or Go Berserk with Email show. It's GBES. I got to remember that. My bad. Troy, thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back in your earbuds next time.
To get a free Berserker Mail test drive with no credit card required, go to startmytestdrive.com. From there, you can play around inside the platform without pressure. Load up emails and campaigns to see how simple the interface is, and get comfy with everything before deciding to join. That's startmytestdrive.com.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.